Before I signed up for the Gay Man Thriving program, I was fear-based in most of my interactions and thoughts, as far as how I was looking at dating, as far as how I perceived myself, as far as attractiveness, as far as my energy levels were. Everything was reactive and out of a place of fear. Thanks to working with Zach and Andrew in the Gay Man Thriving program, I've been able to approach a variety of situations out of a place of love, out of a place of a higher level of energy as I've approached all sorts of things that have come up in my life. Whereas before I might have shied away, or I might have gotten sad or depressed. But as I've gone through the program, just being able to respond at a higher level and look for that silver lining in anything that might have been perceived as a cloud before. Some of the things I was struggling with before getting support from Zach and Andrew, body image was a huge thing for me. And I think that's definitely something common for a lot of men in the gay community, was being able to address this idea of, oh, well, if I don't have the perfect body, or if I don't have this look, or basically any physical attribute put in the list here, if I didn't have that everything else would not be sufficient. And that was really not the sole measure, but a very, very high measure as far as like success would go for any dating future or any relationship future. And yeah, being able to dismantle that and break that down while working with Zach and Andrew has been great, while acknowledging that's definitely a variable and something that can be attractive, that's not the only piece in the picture, and that there's all sorts of components that make up who a person is. And it's just been a huge mindset shift to be able to not deny the importance of body image, but also, that everything else altogether collectively is an important part of what makes a gay man thrive. Some of the fears and the doubts that I had before ultimately signing up for a program like this, part of it was that I would invest a certain amount of, well, both time and money in myself in something like this, and still come out the other end in my mind as a failure. That I would put in all this time and that there would be nothing to show for it. But there was a lot of my own self-doubt talking and just fears. And if I have to be really honest with myself in the long term, and I think I do, it was finding reasons to fail, like giving myself ways out in case I didn't, so that it would be easier to handle or soften the blow if I didn't get where I needed to go. And it was really just like another form of victimization, just a few steps ahead, where I'm not the victim yet, but setting myself up to be one in the long term. So that was definitely a doubt, And then I guess at a simpler level, there was this fear, like, this is about thriving ultimately as a gay man. A lot of people think about the idea of, okay, well, thriving means you must be in a relationship or something similar. So I thought, okay, well, if I'm not in a relationship by the end, then perhaps I failed, is what was in my mind at the beginning as well. But with more time talking to Zach and Andrew as I've gone through the program, yes, being able to thrive in a relationship is one outcome that's certainly desirable, but it's not the only measure of success. So definitely had to reframe, and through sessions with both of them, it's been quite a journey reframing what I consider to be success as I've gone. One way that I've really noticed change after getting this support and guidance from Zach and Andrew has been with addressing some of what we call gremlins when we do our counseling sessions. And one of the gremlins for me was this idea that anything I would do would never be enough, that it would always fall short in some way and just wouldn't cut it. So being able to tackle that and work through some of the deep-rooted issues related to that it's really changed the way that I've approached my relationships with people, even if it's just the friends in my life or perhaps romantic interests in my life, that it's not up to me all the time to decide what's enough, and I took too much responsibility for that. And long term, just being able to recognize that in any relationship or friendship, whatever it is, that there's two or more people involved, and I need to release some of that control. And that's been really, really healing and helpful, that what I bring to the table can be enough, and it's not always for me to decide what's enough. It's been an incredible weight off my shoulders, and it takes away some of the trepidation and the anxiety I had going into a lot of the interactions that I've had in my everyday life. Some specific results that I have in my personal life since joining this program with Zach and Andrew is I have gone on some more dates than I have before, and I haven't had to plan every single little detail as far as how I thought a date should unravel or play out, and just be more present in the moment for each of them. It's something I've really appreciated. It's a whole lot of mental baggage out of the way going into those. And then something that's a little more tangible recently that has come up is I've lost 20 pounds and a large number of body fat percentage going through a fitness challenge that I decided to enlist in after being challenged by Zach and Andrew during some of our coaching sessions. And that's just been really rewarding. It's been something that I've done more for me than anyone else, whereas before it might have been just trying to transform myself for other people. But this time around, with some of the work that we've done going into this challenge, it was more about me, and that really shifted the way I approached it. And it was for me and for my health, and not primarily for others to appreciate. So that made a huge difference. Being able to prioritize my self-care and self-worth has been it's been life-changing for me to be able to do that. In the past, anything I would do to take care of myself or improve myself, I would often see through the lens of being in service to other people, as far as being able to help other people out or improve their lives. And that was me running away from dealing with a lot of my own concerns that I had going on inside of me, a distraction of sorts. And self-care seemed like something that was just selfish for a long time. But going through this program with Zach and Andrew, being able to recognize that it's not selfish to look after yourself. And in fact, you can't help other people as well as you'd like to if you haven't taken care of yourself sufficiently. So being able to reframe self-care and the lens of self-worth as something that's important to look after and to maximize the way that you can influence other people and not just yourself, that's been really important. Energetic attraction to me, it's an intangible quality that a person possesses, as far as something that draws you to them and makes you want to be around them and learn more about who they are, what they represent, and everything that makes them really. It's this magnetism that you can't deny when you're around someone, and whatever it is that they carry with them and have with them, you just want a part of that and you want to find out more. I think all the time spent on learning how to raise my energy and tap into my energy, it's really made it more of an unconscious process in the long term. Because yes, in the beginning when working with Zach and Andrew through the sessions, it is something that you need to repeat and devote time to regularly. But with more time and more experience and getting used to the process, it actually becomes more automatic to think more regularly and act more regularly in a fashion that would be of a higher vibe or a higher energetic presence, I guess. It's become more instinctual, and in that process, I've started to notice, people asking more questions, or being around me and feeling comfortable is something that's more common that's come up again. I remember feeling that way when I was younger, and less afraid, and there was less of these gremlins that we've talked about that have weighed me down, and people would come around. So being able to tap back into that and bring out even more of that as I've gotten to deal with any of the barriers to being this energetic presence, it's just been really, really fulfilling. The biggest way the Gay Man Thriving program helped me was to really tackle this this idea of perfection, this this belief system, this limitation psychologically, that if I was not perfect, that if I didn't come to everything with a 100% mentality, that it just wasn't worth doing or wouldn't be worthwhile long term. Being able to put that to rest and approach everything that I do with a spirit of excellence rather than perfection, it's been really, really life changing. Some of the improvements I've noticed in my energetic profile as I've gone about my daily life, it's really just in the little things. I see at work or on the street or anywhere where there's people I know really well, or some that I barely ever see, or someone I've never met at all. There's a lot of random compliments and things that people will say about who I am as a person. And I remember before I would crave that and desire it, and it would never be enough if I got, one or two little things. But now I'm not really looking for it. And the grand irony, now that I'm not looking for it, I'm getting it a lot more often. I find I'm less afraid to interact with people that I might have put on a higher pedestal than myself before, as unattainable people, where I would see them as, a different type of person that I was almost unworthy of interacting with. And being able to work through some of the lies and belief systems that were obstacles, as I've worked through that, being able to really easily talk to some of these people that I was fearful of before, and just see the humanity in them as well, and just watch as it's become significantly easier to interact with people in all walks of life and have it be meaningful. Over time, I've come to see myself as more worthy, because there's been more of an intrinsic validation of who I am as a person. Like before, it was really just, it was placed out there for other people to give. And over time, working with Zach and Andrew, coming to realize that as long as other people are giving you your validation, they can take it away just as easily. So being able to provide that for yourself and know in and of yourself that you're enough, it's been a really big foundational shift to have that, because as long as I'm giving that to myself, no one can take that away from me. And over time, as you have that, people see it and they will reinforce it often, even without you asking. So in a strange way, you get what you've always wanted in the past, even without really wanting it anymore, is kind of what I've noticed over time. And it's just been a really big shift, being able to believe in yourself, in and of yourself, and not require it from other people. And in the grand scheme of things, you actually you get more validation that you don't really need in the long term. I would absolutely recommend working with Zach and Andrew in the Gay Man Thriving program, whether it's relational issues that might have come up, whether it has to do with limiting beliefs, anything psychologically, anything that's going on that might affect your ability to live your fullest potential as a gay man, whether you're single or in a relationship or married, common law, any of that. Zach and Andrew, 100% I recommend working with them to live out your fullest life. If I could speak to a friend who was on the fence about joining the Gay Man Thriving program, I would tell them that ultimately the investment is in themselves, that they are worth the money and worth the time to invest in themselves, because while there is a a price tag attached to the program, there is no price tag attached to the value of who you are as a person. And the sky's the limit, really. There's no monetary value you can attach to living your freest and fullest life as a gay man.